Ko, a Come By the Curtain Call, a program of reviews, previews, interviews, and features of and or with the great art and artists on Maui and beyond. I'm Paul James Brown. Last week, I was in New York City to see the opening of The Kite Runner, Matthew Spangler's brilliant adaptation of the 2002 Khaled Hosseiniʻs best-selling novel of the same title. There is a Maui connection here. Mr. Spangler is Ginny Morgan's son. Ms. Morgan is a retired science professor at UH Maui College and a devotee of early European music, as well as a cellist in the Maui Pops. If you haven't read the book, here is the thumbnail description. It takes place between 1973 and 2001 in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and San Francisco. It involves two boys, Amir and Hassan, who come from hostile castes, one from the ruling and the other from the servant. Despite this, they are friends and love each other deeply, at least that is what we are led to believe, until Amir commits an unreconcilable act of cowardice he cannot live with because it confirms the doubts his father, known as Baba, Farhan Tahir, believes about him. Quote, "A boy who won't stand up for himself becomes a man who won't stand up for anyone," says Baba, unquote. Amir cannot abide this and seeks to get Hassan and his father, who has worked for Baba for 40 years, dismissed. By using Hassan's loyalty to him, Baba refuses, and when they attempt to leave, he tells them they cannot. But Ali Evan Zess, who plays Hassan's dad, informs him he cannot prevent them from leaving and they must. It is a matter of personal pride. The Russian invasion of Afghanistan causes Baba and Amir to leave everything behind and flee. They end up in San Francisco, where Baba takes on menial tasks. Amir graduates from high school and is headed to university to become a fiction writer, a craft he has pursued since he was a boy, much to the chagrin of Baba. San Francisco has a considerable Afghan refugee population, and General Tahiri, Hushang Tuzi, who has a great deal of respect for Baba, is one of the sellers at the flea market. Amir is smitten with the general's daughter, Soraya. Azita Ganizada courts her in their cultural tradition and marries her. He is summoned by an old friend to Pakistan and learns a family secret, which provides a path to redemption and reconciliation. This play has so much going for it, it is hard to know where to begin. Do we delve into the nature of friendships, the difficulties of father-son relationships, being a refugee, the caste system with all of its inequality, or the opportunities life presents for redemption? There is so much here. The cast led by Amir Arison as Amir is superb. 9 of the 13 cast members are making their Broadway debuts. Mr. Arison's role calls on him to be the narrator and then enter the scene. First as a child, to play like a child, and to have the superficial childlike interactions. Then he grows in age, but not in maturity. He is still a selfish, cowardly cad, and demonstrates this time and again. Amir is a terrible, self-centered, ego-driven person, one who we truly despise, not your typical lead, and a character that calls on all of Mr. Arison's considerable acting skills to pull off, and he does remarkable work right up until the final blackout. What I mean by this is usually a character this despicable is the villain. But no, there is a real villain in this show. Amir Malaklau, as the bully Asef, amply provides the intimidation and dislike of Amir and horrific crimes and misdemeanors as a Taliban leader to more than qualify as the bad guy. Farhan Tahir's Baba is a wealthy, prominent businessman who lives in one of the finest homes in all of Afghanistan. He is a proud, powerful man, even when he loses everything during the Russian invasion, and he and his family are forced to flee, first to Pakistan, then to San Francisco. One of Mr. Tahir's most memorable scenes takes place when he demonstrates remarkable courage in the face of a Russian soldier who seeks to molest a woman with a baby. It was one of my favorite scenes in the book and the play. But the one who makes this show is Eric Sarakian, a British actor making an auspicious Broadway debut as Hassan and Sohrab. Mr. Sarakian's Hassan is fun, loving, disarming, competent, caring, courageous, and displays absolute loyalty in the face of betrayal and integrity even when he is lying. His Sohrab has some open moments. Most of his character is shocked and in despair. Mr. Sarakian does this and more. Both characters are critical to the story. Mr. Sarakian has to create two different characters who are father-son. They need to be separate from each other and yet alike enough to be believable. His Hassan is the most sympathetic character in the show. We wish we had a friend like him. At times, he is like your favorite pet. You just want to hug him. Then others, his bravery and loyalty goes way past above and beyond. His dance as Sohrab in Act 2 is one of the most painful scenes in the show. Bravo to Mr. Sarakian. He deserves a Tony nomination for Best Supporting Actor. As Soraya, Amir's girlfriend and wife, Azita Ghanizada, is the first woman from Afghanistan to debut on Broadway. As Soraya, she and Amir start off playing the traditional patriarchy roles, but she is much more like a partner than the expected male dominance relationship. And despite Amir being away most of the time, he not only wants to have participatory decision-making with her, he wants to be certain any decisions are ones that please her. 13 actors play 24 parts, and there is not a weak link in this cast. Those who play multiple roles slip seamlessly into and out of them, and the play, with more scenes than I could count, moves along rapidly and without delays, due to the ingenious minimalist set by UK designer Barney George, who was also responsible for the costumes. Charles Balfour, lighting designer, contributed to the set by creating gobos to shine on the center stage rug that acted as multiple carpets, helping to set the stage, and as other scene supporting devices, such as scripture, among others. Tabla master Salar Nader, billed as one of Afghanistan's virtuosic tabla players, demonstrated his excellence from his opening pre-curtain solo to the last stroke. His mastery of Jonathan Gerling's musical score made this production soar. Mr. Spangler tells this complex story in efficient, effective, and emotionally engaging manner, so the audience gets everything. Given the scope of the novel, this is no mean feat. Mr. Spangler, who is among the most modest artists I have ever met, gives credit to his collaboration with the author beginning in 2005, when after reading the novel, he thought he would like to dramatize some scenes as a way for his students, he is a professor of performance and chair of film and theater at San Jose State University in California, as a way for them to more fully engage in the issues raised by the novel. He contacted Mr. Hosseini for permission, and the play grew from that interaction. In 2008, Mr. Hosseini introduced Mr. Spangler to Humaira Gilzai, a cultural advisor and script consultant. Her story is similar to Amir's refugee tale, and we have been assured by her presence everything presented is culturally accurate and respectful. Sometimes storytelling plays are not plays. We want a play to show us, not tell us. But in order to explore the entire scope of the novel, there is no other way to do it than to have a narrator. In the Kite Runner, Mr. Spangler has used this convention efficiently and sparingly, so the scenes don't so much play out what has been described in the narration as pick up where they leave off. The narration serves to set the scene we are about to see and gives context and room for the actors to create. At the head of and rounding out this talented and outstanding creative team is the director Giles Croft, also making his Broadway debut. Mr. Croft was the artistic director of the Nottingham Playhouse, which is where he first directed The Kite Runner. This production is the one presented by them and Liverpool Everyman Playhouse. He knows this play, and it is clear that knowledge has been extremely beneficial to the cast and the production team. As in all Broadway shows, there are a bevy of producers, but the one who sticks out is Theater Hall of Famer and executive producer Darryl Roth, one of the theater's most astute and award-winning backers, the only Broadway producer to helm 7 Pulitzer Prize-winning plays, including Wit, Three Tall Women, and Proof, among others, and the proud recipient of 13 Tonys, and I think she's got 14 coming up after this. And who knows, maybe a Pulitzer for Mr. Spangler. Her pedigree speaks to her fine sense of play selection. Ms. Roth only deals with the creme de la creme. In The Kite Runner, she has chosen wisely. Unbelievably, this show will be up for an extremely limited 17-week run until mid-November. I'm not going out on a limb when I say they should start looking for a larger venue right now. It could run for a very long time. On opening night, the audience leaped to their feet like a rocket blasting off and gave an ovation that lasted at least 10 minutes. Word of mouth is the best form of advertising, and given what I saw on opening night, The Kite Runner is going to be one of the toughest tickets in town, with the Helen Hayes, Broadway's smallest theater, at 700 seats. If you're going to New York, be sure to get tickets for this show. go to
www.thekiterunnerbroadway.com.
I have seen thousands of shows over my little over 7 decades on this planet, and never have I been as emotionally verklempt as I was when the final blackout occurred in Matthew Spangler's perfect adaptation of Khaled Hosseiniʻs' best-selling novel. This is what we go to theater for. Well, that's Curtain Call for this week. Mahalo nui loa for tuning in. I'm Paul James Brown. Ahui ho.